Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
All right, today's show all about gratitude. Monica, Garnett Counseling. Monica's joining us here today. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Coming off of a nice weekend. So, yeah.
Yes, and a
Doing all
happy 4th, a big holiday weekend, kind of. It's like in the beginning here. But for
Absolutely.
those that may not know of you and your counseling services, tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
So, Garnett Counseling Services started officially in 2021. We provide individual, couples, and family therapy, as well as life coaching. And so we also have those who specialize with substance abuse and working with veterans. So we all have experience with that as well.
And how do we reach you?
You can reach me at 888-427-6006. And my website is garnettcounseling.com. And that's GarnettCounseling.com. And Facebook, Garnett Counseling Services, and forgetting one, Instagram, Garnett_counseling. So,
all right.
yes.
Well, let's start off with gratitude. What is gratitude?
Really, it's just the act of being, it's the practice of being thankful, being gracious or grateful for things that have happened, are happening, so many just different things. But I think in therapy, it takes me back to, I hear a lot of therapists, I use it myself, called stinking thinking.
Stinking thinking?
And so, yes. And so it's so easy to get caught up in the what's going wrong, the what ifs, the coulda, the shouldas, all of that quote unquote break stuff that can send us down in a downward spiral. And so with gratitude, it helps us connect not just with our positive emotions and just recognizing, wait a minute, this is not, because this feels this way, there are other things that are going on that I can look at. And so being the act of gratitude is actually very grounding, because it takes me away from that stinking thinking again and pulls me to shift my mindset, shift the way I think. And so there's so many benefits to it, which is it's pretty interesting. As a therapist, the first thing that may come to mind is, again, with dealing with emotions, the negative emotions. So gratitude is doing the opposite, is focusing on, sorry, just pause because I was just thinking of something.
That's okay.
But it's focusing on those, the positive emotions, the positive things that are going on. But at the same time, it's not saying to negate the actual situation. And so I know we spoke about, I'm just going to use this as an example. We spoke about grief a few weeks ago. And so when someone is grieving, it's not to say, oh, well, stop grieving. You can't grieve right now. Don't feel what you're feeling. Sometimes it can look like, you know what? This is a hard situation. Be kind to yourself. Or this is a hard situation that you're going through. What are some of the things that you do have in front of you? So it's not to negate that, but it's actually just practice the shift in the mindset. And so in addition to the negative emotions, other than depression and anxiety, it can address being resentful, being angry at another person or even yourself. We're so hard on ourselves.
Oh, yeah. Yes, we are.
Oh gosh, it's amazing. And I talk to my clients a lot about just being kind. And a part of that being kind is, okay, wait a minute. Yes, I may have messed up here, or my perception of what I should have done is over here. I should have done better, quote unquote, better. But what did you do? Let's be grateful for that. Let's pause and look at that for a second. Because so often we get caught up in the woulda, coulda, shouldas of today, but pausing to say, wait a minute, this is what's going on with me right now. Let me be grateful for those little moments. And so it can be grateful. It sounds, I don't think it sounds cheesy. Some people might think so, but I just bought a plant, love plants, and for hummingbirds. and it attracts them. So just watching the hummingbirds just come and just kind of pausing and being grateful for that experience, you know. So it pulls the pause in. And some of the other benefits is better sleep. You know, I'm a firm believer in preparing for sleep. You know, how do I prepare for sleep? I prepare for my day. So I get up, of course, take a shower the night before. I may iron my clothes. The same thing with sleep. Sleep is such a very important part of our lives. So how do I prepare for it? And not even just that, what is my mindset before I go? So even practicing some gratefulness before then, you know, I'm grateful for my coworker saying hello to me today. It doesn't have to be big. You know, I'm grateful for the food that I had. You know, I'm grateful for the apple I ate at lunch. And so shifting the mindset even before you're going to sleep, because sometimes when we go to sleep with the cares of the world on our shoulders, of course, that affects how we sleep. And then that affects how we wake up the next morning and so forth and so forth and so forth. And so eventually that can affect how our physical body takes on stress and manages stress. Same thing with mental health. You know, if our body is not in a good place, a lot of times our mental health it struggles. It struggles a little bit, sometimes a lot of bit. You know, being grateful. It also, you know, I think about just when you have two people meet. So it works with the improved relationships. You know, if you have someone who you're with and they're always looking at the those woulda, coulda, shouldas again, those negative feelings, those negative experiences, it can weigh on the relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship, a platonic, work, etc. It can be a little stressful. And so when you have another person, when you have the two people, yeah, you know, again, not negating what's going on, but one person saying, you know what, I'm having a hard time, but you know, I'm grateful for this. And the other person's like, oh, you know what, I like that. It can affect how interactions are, how your relationships are. You don't have to like the person.
Yeah, you don't. I get it. I get it. I get it.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you know, and I think about that because realistically, in a lot of our relationships, we don't like the other person, but it makes it easier to engage,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm just taking me back to some of my interactions with old coworkers. So I'm like, ah, but yeah, yeah. And so then it also affects your self-esteem. You know, when I can look at things that are working pretty well, you know, I can start to just, you know, again, it's shifting how I'm thinking,
Hmm.
you know.
Which not everybody could do so easily. How do
No,
you
not
practice
at
gratitude? What are some of
all.
the things that you do?
You know what? I'm glad you said that. You know, I think for me, it's been a practice because it hasn't always been this way. I'll just be honest. And so it's just when I realize I'm going too far in the future, when I'm rushing, I call it rushing because in my mind, I'm kind of going off topic, but staying on topic at the same time. So in my mind, I have a garden that I walk in. For me, it's grounding. So when there's stressful situations, I think of the garden, you know, the sun that you're feeling, the wind on your skin, you know, just feeling using the five senses for my safe space. So when my mind starts to feel like, okay, what's going on? I'm racing, you know, so I'm getting caught up in the, oh my gosh, I should have did this, I should have did that, I need to do this, da, 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 and it starts to go. One of the things I do is I go back mentally to my garden and then I can pause. And then I could look around me and say, you know what? Okay. And I call myself girl. Some people are like, you call yourself girl? I was like, yeah, I call myself girl. So I say, hey girl, what's really going on around you? Again, not to negate the negative things or not to negate the uncomfortable experiences, because I don't want to do that. But I want to be able to look at the full picture. So then I can say, okay, girl, what's going on? Okay, well, I'm stressed right now. Well, what are you stressed about? Well, I'm stressed about work. Okay, we'll take a pause. take a few more minutes, maybe another minute or two, and sometimes 3. And what is going on around you? Take that in. And it's just like, you know what? Today is a pretty day. I have my plants. I have a lot of plants. So I have my plants. They're not dying. They're thriving. Just sometimes it's just the little things. And in my practice, I talk about the little things a lot because it doesn't have to be big. So just looking at, what do I have? And that's what helps me. I know there's some others who use a gratitude journal, and some gratitude journals have prompts in them. Some don't. But as a practice, I encourage my clients, if they have a gratitude journal that doesn't have prompts, list at least 3 things, 3 to 5. It doesn't have to be too much. 3 to 5 things which you're grateful for. And again, could be, I'm grateful for the apple. I'm grateful for Netflix. I'm just pulling things out of the air, but I am grateful for Netflix, but that's another story.
Oh gosh, I hear you. I know. I'm watching. Hold on, my headset just fell. Hold on.
Oh, no worries.
I love Netflix. I know that's the one thing I started watching a few years ago because when the kids fall asleep, but it's so many great things on it.
Absolutely.
And they're cracking down on sharing soon.
Yes, I heard that. I'm still trying to figure out how that works, but I said, okay.
How do they know if you're in the same household? I think it's only up to 3 accounts or something, but smart. Not to digress.
No.
What do you watch on Netflix?
I have been trying to watch. What have I been watching? My mother actually surprised me, off topic, but I'll get back on with it is the I can't think of the name of it, but it's the couple show with Nick Lachey and Vanessa Lachey.
Oh my gosh, I never watched it. I don't even know what it is. Is it a dating show or a reality show?
Yeah, it's a dating show. It's a dating reality show. And so she and we go back and forth with it.
Cute.
Yeah. Never thought my mother would be that way, but yeah. But that's one thing I'm grateful for because it actually helps soften our interaction.
Aww.
Yeah. So we have something to really connect to.
You guys watching it together or separate and you just converse about it?
We just talk about it. Yeah. She's in Virginia and I'm here in California. So
got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah. We got quite a bit of distance between us.
Aww.
Which doesn't feel like that all the time, but hey, that's another story. But yeah. But like I said, being grateful for that.
Yeah.
Taking all of that in. And so I know when I had worked at the VA before, we would have a practice with our veterans, and we would have a gratitude tree in the office. And so they could just, make a note and stick their note on the gratitude tree.
I love my Post-its. I love my Post-its. Yes. Same thing. Yeah.
Yes. And so when they would come in, they could see the gratitude tree and they're like, sometimes they would look at it again and just look at it, specifically and see what other people put. But sometimes just having it there, I was told that, it was just a reminder, hey, pause and stop and just remember. So it worked in 2 different ways. It worked as far as in the moment, writing down what they were grateful for, and then being able to see it and just kind of remind as a reminder.
Yep.
Same thing with the gratitude rock. I really like
my latest gratitude note that turned into clean house and organized. You can't see it, but I usually put like positive stuff, but I just have cleaning ones up there. But I've done that.
My rule of thumb is no chores. No chores and gratitude. But that's my personal thing because I'm just like, I want it to be pleasurable. I want it to be, to feel good. Now, if it's a chore that I like for some reason, I love to vacuum. I love vacuuming.
I love vacuuming too.
Doesn't make sense to me. Yay. See, exactly. That I could just sit there and I'm just like, and it's those moments, So
I like hosing too. Do you hose?
No.
I'm a big outside hoser.
You know what? Actually, I do it a little bit with the plants. And so when it feels like a chore, it's harder to be in that moment. But when I like this weekend, I was out there and I was just like, oh, this is beautiful. This is nice. And it just allows any situation that allows you to just take a step back and just kind of, whether it's purposeful or not, you know, and the purposeful, it's a practice. And so there's another thing with what was I going to say? The gratitude rock. The gratitude rock, just finding a rock. Some people might buff their rocks up. It makes me think of the pet rock. Some kids have pet rocks when they were kids. I was never one of those, but I always used to try to make my rocks
Painted
turn into
rocks,
diamonds.
but I used
Yeah.
to do painted rocks, but
That too. Just having your special rock, and then just you can either write on there what you're grateful for, or just assign that task of it being the gratitude rock. And then just having it with you wherever you go. It's almost like a security blanket, so to speak. But it's also a grounding object, what keeps you in the present. So when situations become difficult, having that rock in your pocket and just rubbing it, it's a reminder.
gratitude rock, gratitude rock, gratitude rock.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Going back to my work at the VA, we had a few vets and they had their own gratitude rocks, because going to the hospital was not a pleasant experience. And so we would try to make our office to be almost like coming to visit family, but it's still the hospital. They're still met with anxiety, it's still met with certain feelings because of different experiences. And again, you're going to the hospital for a reason. So they would have their gratitude rocks, and someone shout, Monica, look, I got my gratitude rock. It makes a difference. It reminds me, it helps to ground me. And so going back to that walk in the park, if I feel like I'm speeding up in the walk, I'm becoming anxious. If I feel like I'm keep looking back, sometimes looking back, that can bring on sadness, that can bring on guilt, that can bring on what's that other is another heavy hitter, shame. And so I don't need to look back there, just like driving. I need to look forward, not too far forward, and I can't keep looking backward. Because where's that going to leave me at in the present moment? And so the gratitude practice, or practices, because some people have more than one, are the ones that bring you back to the present. Another one that I like to find, because I love to laugh. Everyone who knows me, sometimes it's inappropriate, but it is what it is. Finding the laughter. For me, laughter is grounding. It brings me back to the moment, and it puts a spin on it to make things pleasurable. And so, like, I'll tell others too, in the gratitude, if you have that time to spend, well, it doesn't even have to be a long period of time. I was just thinking back to Netflix. If you do have the time, you can watch Netflix, Hulu, or whatever it is, and watch a comedy. And then be grateful for that moment. Or another thing that I keep getting caught up in is those YouTube reels. Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. Get lost in them. But sometimes they are hilarious. So I regulate myself to 5 a day, which I'm still working on that. But it's bringing yourself back to the present and being grateful. But again, making sure that you acknowledge what you're going through, because if you don't acknowledge what you're going through, that can have the reverse effect. So for instance, if I'm being grateful, or if I'm trying to practice being grateful and it's just really hard for me to do it at the moment, then I start to feel more pressure. And where would that leave me? Then now I'm mad at myself. I'm going through a situation, and then I'm angry with myself because now I can't be grateful. What's wrong with me? No, if you have to push it, don't push it. Validate what you're doing first. And sometimes even in the practice of being grateful, just going back to don't push it. I would say validate one and then be grateful. I'm going through this situation. It sucks. But let me look at what's going on here. I don't like this person. I really don't want to talk to them. This is awful. I hate coming to this place. But I'm grateful that I do have, I don't know why I keep going back to work. I don't know what it is.
I know.
But,
work, yeah.
but it's a big one. It's a big one.
It is, yeah.
And so I do have this place to come to. And if it causes you to look further, because the thing about being grateful is we're not trying to take a deep dive into the end of the pool. We want to make this experience pleasurable as much as possible. So if it's, okay, I'm having a situation that it sucks. However, I'm grateful, and I'm grateful for it because of this, and that, and I'm grateful this, and I have to feel this way, and I have to, putting more on it than what needs to be. We're not doing that either. Keeping it light, keeping it simple. So, yeah.
All right. Gratitude, by the way. We've been talking here to Monica Garnett from Garnett Counseling, and the topic of the day. Yes. But now putting it all into practice. We talked about the gratitude rock, but the gratitude jar, is that when we just put like notes in it and fill it up with some positivity?
Absolutely.
Are we supposed to look at those notes, take them out, or they just stay in the jar?
If you want to, it's almost like the gratitude tree. And I'm so glad you brought that up. It's similar to the gratitude tree. So I can put notes in the jar. And when those times come where I need to have those reminders, I can pull them out. And then sometimes having that sitting there, it can remind me that, hey, wait a minute, I can be grateful.
Yeah.
Or there are things that I am grateful for. So yeah, there's so many different practices: the gratitude jar, the gratitude rock, gratitude tree, gratitude journal. But it comes down to the mind shift.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a practice, and some people say that some of my clients have said, well, this is, it's not easy to catch on to. And I said, well, I think about little leagues I don't know if it was called little leagues back then, but when I played softball, I think I was in 5th grade. It was not a pretty experience when I first started, but as I got better, as I worked towards it, as I practiced, I got much better with it. And so I encourage everyone to remember, everything is a practice. So just try it. And don't just try it one time and say, oh, it didn't work. Give yourself a chance. Give yourself an experience with it. So, gratitude.
Great. Let's do it, Monica. How can we reach out to you?
GarnettCounseling.com. So that's GarnettCounseling.com. 888-427-6006. And Facebook is Garnett Counseling Services. And Instagram is Garnett __ counseling. Excuse me.
Thank you so much. This is exciting work you do. Always a pleasure having you here. Have a fantastic 4th. Enjoy. You're off tomorrow?
Yes.
Me too.
Yay.
Thank you.
Fun.
I will, sweetheart. Thanks so much for all your insight, and we'll talk soon, okay? Have a great day. And to all of our listeners, stay tuned. More of the show is coming right up.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.